Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Garodnick, Chair of the City Planning Commission and Director of the Department of City Planning. Welcome to today's public meeting of May 15. We're going to change our order slightly because we've got a couple of commissioners who are running behind and start with some business on minutes and resolutions, and then we'll go on to public hearings. We'll do votes when the rest of our crew arrives. We do have a quorum, however, and when we do take votes, we're going to begin with votes on residential and commercial projects, starting with a mixed-use building at 2118 Avenue U in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. Proposal would create 10 homes, a third of them income restricted, with ground floor retail near the Q train and the B3 and B49 bus stops. We will also vote at 2724 College Point Boulevard, Queens, on a commercial overlay to facilitate a one-story commercial eating and drinking establishment with a drive-through. Staying in Queens, the next vote will be on a proposal to enlarge an existing one-story warehouse into a three-story warehouse with an additional loading berth at 5875 Queens Midtown Expressway in Maspeth. The expansion would create another 10 jobs on top of the approximately 30 jobs already there. And the last vote today will concern the enlargement of an existing home and the addition of a stairway at 90 Merrick Road in Tote Hill, Staten Island. Switching gears to our hearings for today, the public is invited to testify on a proposed commercial development with nearly 1 acre of public waterfront open space at 500 Kent Avenue in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The project would be located near Roberto Clemente Ball Field, Jacob's Ladder Playground, the New York City Ferry, and the B62 and B67 bus lanes. Last, but certainly not least, we'll hold a public hearing today on the Department of City Planning's Bronx Metro North Plan. This plan would complement new Metro North stations coming to the East Bronx, the neighborhoods of Parkchester, Van Ness, Morris Park, Hunts Point, and Co-op City, with thousands of new homes and jobs set to open in 2024. These new stations will significantly cut down on commute times and help to connect residents to tens of thousands of jobs throughout the Bronx, Manhattan, Westchester, and Connecticut. Crafted with extensive community input, the Bronx Metro North Plan would create approximately 7,500 new homes, including permanently income-restricted homes, through mandatory inclusionary housing. It would bolster key East Bronx commercial corridors, establish workforce training programs, and support important community institutions and economic hubs to create 10,000 new jobs. Morris Park and Hunts Point are already 2 of the 10 largest job centers in New York City, and this plan will make sure that that growth continues far into the future. The Bronx Metro North Plan would also facilitate infrastructure improvements and pedestrian-friendly public amenities to make it easier for residents and workers to access the new stations, foster a greater sense of community, and improve the overall quality of life. I'm happy to report that the Bronx Metro North Plan has received support from Community Boards 9 and 11, the Bronx Borough Board, and Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson. We look forward to hearing from the public today about this transformative project for the East Bronx. So with that, let's get to it. Madam Secretary, let's get started.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held remotely through the NYC Engage portal and in person in the CPC hearing room, 120 Broadway, Lower Concourse. Today is Wednesday, May 15, 2024. I will now call the roll. Chair Garodnick.
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Benjamin. Present. Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Kraut. Commissioner Doak is absent. Commissioner Gold, absent. Commissioner Goodrich.
Here.
Commissioner Kamani. Here. Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Osorio will be joining us later. Commissioner Ramprashad.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the public meeting of Wednesday, May 1st, 2024.
Great. On the minutes, I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 1st.
Second.
It's been seconded by the Vice Chairman. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, minutes are approved.
Scheduling, calendar numbers 1 through 3. We have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, May 29, 2024, for a public hearing to be held in person in the CPC hearing room, 120 Broadway, and remotely through the NYC Engage portal.
Great. On the resolutions, I make a motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Ramprashad. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, resolutions adopted.
Reports we will cover later in the meeting. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 7.
Great, thank you very much. And noting again that we're just gonna start with some public hearings, and we're expecting a couple of more commissioners to come in. We'll take our votes. We're gonna start with the first items on the agenda here. Noting members of the public are invited to speak for 3 minutes. I believe we have an applicant team, but Madam Secretary, why don't you call the first item for us?
Burr, Brooklyn, calendar numbers 9, 10, and 11, 500 Kent Avenue. CD2, calendar number 9, C230293 ZMK. Calendar number 10, C230294 ZSK. Calendar number 11, C230296 ZSK. Public hearing in the matter of applications for a zoning map amendment and special permits concerning 500 Kent Avenue. Notice. A public hearing is being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with the above ULURP actions to receive comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This hearing is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review. Great.
Thank you very much. We have an applicant team here to present today on this item, which includes Nabil Goksabeh, I'm sorry if I'm doing damage to your name, Raymond Levin, Jeff Rubin, Rick Parisi, and Anna Baldassare. Welcome. Good to have you here. Whenever you are ready, you have 10 minutes, and welcome. Make sure that microphone button, the case of the microphone is turned on.
I'm very technologically impaired. Good morning. My name is Raymond Levin. I'm special counsel at Herrick Feinstein. With me today is Nabil Goksabeh of Marvell Designs, the architects for the project, and Anna Baldassare of MFPF, the landscape architects. Okay, now how do I do this? There we go. The applicants are seeking zoning actions, including a map change from M31 to M15 at 500 Kent Avenue in South Williamsburg. The site is located on Wallabout Channel with frontage on Division and Kent Avenues and abuts the Brooklyn Navy Yard to the south. The project site and the Navy Yard property from Division down to Clymer Street are currently occupied with open uses. North of Division is the Naftali project, consisting of 3 buildings, residential buildings, the closest to our site being 23 stories. Across Kent Avenue is the Roberto Clemente Ball Field and Park. The proposed, there we go. The proposed development includes over 500,000 square feet of office space, over 20,000 square feet of retail space, over an acre of publicly accessible open space, over 200 below-grade parking spaces, and 100 bicycle parking spaces. The project's aims, beyond a positive return on investment, are to redevelop the site in a manner that links the new residential development to the north, the established South Williamsburg neighborhood to the east, and the Navy Yard to the south. The proposed project will contribute to the neighborhood and the broader community by improving the vacant lot, currently used for school bus parking, creating a public water walkway that will ultimately connect with similar public ways both north and south, create additional public access points from Kent Avenue to the Wallabout Channel, provide space for both offices and retail businesses, which can provide services to and employment opportunities for local residents, and generate tax revenues for the city, including real estate sales and payroll taxes. Nabil and Anna will now show the program in 3 dimensions.
Good morning, everyone. Nabil Goksabeh, Marvel Architects. So to reiterate what's been said before, the site sits between the Navy Yard and the residential developments to the north. And we've always kind of seen the site as a bridge and a connector for that. And the change in the zoning kind of allows the waterfront esplanade to kind of be incorporated and kind of continue from the neighborhood to the north across our site and connect to the Navy Yard master plan to the south. And we think that's kind of an important piece of what the Navy Yard wants to achieve and what the development along the waterfront has done. You can see in this diagram, it's a little hard, but one of the observations kind of during the design process was about the city grids that wrap the Navy Yard and the neighborhood that this site sits in, which led us to kind of incorporate an additional pass-through on the site to break up the street frontage, as well as kind of aligning the bulk of the project with one of the street grids to the south to kind of give it some basis and also to maintain some of the kind of view corridors that existed, specifically on Division up from Bedford looking down to the water, and not kind of obscuring that with kind of a large mass. This is the ground floor site plan where you can kind of see the extent of the waterfront improvements, the path through in the center of the site, the visual corridor to the south, kind of creating these three entry points into the site, which then will connect with the Naftali efforts on the north and the future developments of the Navy Yard with their esplanade on the south. The northern portion of the building houses the most of the retail in the building. The southern portion has the office lobby as well as kind of the tower portion of the project. The project sits in a Zone X as far as flood zone goes. So basic waterproofing measures are taken into account for the foundation systems, minimizing the entry points if there were ever an incident, and obviously dry proofing any areas that could or would be impacted by current or, many years in the future events. Oh, I hit the stop. This is an illustration just of the massing from the two sides of the project, the water side and the streetscape side, to kind of illustrate that the massing is kind of allocated along that streetscape boundary, allowing kind of large areas of open space on either side of the building's footprint. And then here is a few illustrations of the project, one stepping back further up Bedford to kind of show the project from afar. You can see Division on the right, the center access point in the middle of the image, and then the visual corridor on the far left. Closer up view, kind of illustrating more kind of the pass-through effect, where you can kind of break up the site with these access points. Moving to the southern side of the site, as you approach up Kent, you have the entry to the visual corridor, as well as the loading area and the kind of office lobby on the right side of the image. And then moving forward up the street, just outside the office lobby, kind of again creating a bit of a colonnade and open space as an illustrative idea, and addressing kind of the drop-off and access issues that we've worked with the city and DOT to resolve. So with that, I'll hand it off to Anna to discuss the waterfront and the landscape.
Oh, Rick, sorry. Coming in for Anna.
Go for it.
Morning. Rick Parisi, MPFP, Landscape Architects. Not Anna. Anna's behind me. So I think everybody's already talked about the open space. Both Ray and Neville covered the open space pretty clearly. And the goal here was to make a really strong visual and physical connection to the neighborhood. And while we had a visual corridor requirement, we didn't really have to make that visual corridor more of an upland connection, which is what we did. Working with urban design, we went back and forth on how to make this porosity clearer, right? So we do have, against the Navy Yard, adjacent to the Navy Yard, we have that it acts like a true upland connection, even though it isn't classified as one. And it is a visual corridor, has seating, real clear connection. There is always a question whether, when the Navy Yard is developed, how that would be connected. So we have a connection to the Navy Yard set up if that site gets developed, and I think that was really important just to keep this fluid connectivity. And the center one, which is the PAA, right, also is doing quite a bit of gymnastics. And I think when you look at the grades here, we're going from street grades up to elevation 16, and then we're actually dropping the Shore Public Walkway. There's a small section of it that we drop down to elevation 7. We would have liked that to be a full get down, but we'd have to get down to 2. It's just too much to do in the 40 feet. But we do have a series of stepped areas and amphitheater type areas, informal raised seating areas throughout the whole open space. So you have the SPW in blue, the SPAA, which is a supplemental area in pink, then the PAA, which is PAA number 1, which goes under the building, as you saw in the 3Ds, and then the visual corridor on the bottom. That's the rendered plan. And a 3D. So you can see the visual corridor on the right there, comes down. This starts to drop down. It's an ADA connection down to elevation 7. So we drop the bulkhead down, and then we come back up. And this area here is the little seating area, raised seating area, another little raised seating area here. So it's a really kind of organic system of platforms, little raised rooms, all of them ADA connected. And then, of course, our connection to the street here, division there. I think that's all we got in there. A couple of renderings of, you can see this is that stepped area and the ADA connections on the other side. And that's from the lower elevation at elevation 7. Now, there was quite a bit of talk about this loading area here. And is that my time?
It is your time. Why don't you just tell us about the loading area?
Real quick, because we went over this with urban design quite a bit. We wanted the loading area to feel pedestrian, so it does have pavers on it. The loading is very infrequent. So this pedestrian plaza here, which is not a PAA, not really part of the open space, technically, is connected with a walkway right here and the same paving type. And that's it.
Okay, great. We will have some questions for you from commissioners. Let me just start with a couple, and I think you should stay at the mic because they're for you. On the special permit on with some of the waivers here. One of the waivers relates to the width of the walls along the shoreline. Normally 100 feet, here requested 343. Can you say a little bit more about the configuration of the buildings and why that would justify here a greater waiver than what what the norm allows? Why we should allow for a waiver so significant as 343 feet here?
Hello, Commissioners. Neville again from Marvel. As you can kind of see, do the orientation of or rotation of the rectangle to align with the street grid. It's the tower frontage is actually less than 100, but because of the orientation, the design placement, it kind of rotates on its axis, which kind of creates that broader overlay of the, I forget what the term was, but the waterfront facing facade. And as trying to keep the tower lower, we kind of increase some of the bulk on the lower floors. So that's kind of why some of it spreads, so that we didn't kind of keep going up, because we felt that 23 was kind of where it wanted to be from a total height standpoint. Additionally, there's as a kind of on the retail piece to the north, there's a small penthouse on the top there, which can kind of be an amenity. It can tie to some of the retail spaces to make both the ground floor retail as well as the roof space an amenity for the building and the public, restaurant or whatever it may end up being. But so those multiple pieces kind of, even though they're disparate and kind of spread across, because of their orientations to the waterfront, they kind of add up to this larger frontage. And I think if we oriented the building perpendicular to the facade, to the streetscape or to the waterfront, it would be a little bulkier to the community side, personally. So we think this alignment, this openness to the waterfront and providing this extra path through to the site benefits from this configuration.
Okay, thank you. And my only other question was about the connection to the Navy Yard next door. Can you say a little bit more about what provision is being made to maintain possible opportunities between these sites?
So I'll touch and then you can add, I guess. Obviously, as Rick mentioned, we're going from a very high elevation at the street to a very low elevation at the waterfront, which, parallels on the Navy Yard side of the project. During design, it's the visual corridor is a requirement, was incorporated. Whoever kind of gets there first would have to do it, or incorporate it. So we've incorporated it. The Navy Yard may actually incorporate one in their plan. I haven't familiarized myself with it. So you actually may end up with a very generous space between the two buildings that parallel each other if they choose to do that. Beyond that, at the Esplanade portion of the site, it's configured with, demountable elements that are intended to be able to be removed so that kind of the Esplanade can continue between the two sites.
I'd also add that the Navy Yard master plan shows a waterfront walkway along their property. So those will connect up, as will the connection to Naftali. So the continuous waterfront walkway will happen one of these days.
Okay, got it. It's important to maintain the possibility for that. So that's great. Okay, thank you. Let me go to Commissioner Benjamin.
Hi, I have a couple of different questions. I've been concerned about taking M3 land, which is scarce, and turning it into land that is less manufacturing friendly. And your proposal does several things that concern me, one of which is that you don't show a lot of renderings which include the buildings across Kent Avenue, which are all residential. And at this point, Kent Avenue with that very large bike lane is only really one lane from here all the way past Domino's. It used to be a really nice 4-lane road, but now it's down to 1 lane with that weird parking in the middle of the street. But so given the residential across the way, all the way down to the BQE, what makes this an appropriate site for a tower, a 23-story building? And why would we want to increase that FAR on the waterfront to allow that to happen?
Well, let's talk about the residential on the other side of Kent. Across from us is a park.
Right.
Across from the Navy Yard are the residential buildings. And the Navy Yard is proposing buildings that are of similar height to ours from what we can tell from their master plan, which the commission approved a year or two ago. And Naftali is 23, 24 stories. The building across the street from Naftali is an overbuilt building because of conversion, which is FAR 6. The building south of us, south of the park, I believe is 11 stories. So it's not the central Williamsburg that we know about, of 4-story walk-ups. There are significant larger buildings surrounding our property and will eventually surround as the Navy Yard develops their property. You can see in this illustration. So we think that it's appropriate rather than having more of a low denser building. We spent a lot of time with the architects and the landscape architects in breaking up that. So when you're on the ground, when you're walking on the street, you will see lots of connections to the water, and the height of the building will not be as prominent as in renderings, which are bird's eye view.
But you're not tied to this design because it's a rezoning.
We've asked for a whole bunch of
Special permits for
of
parking.
Special permits, and for waivers from the waterfront regulations, as was mentioned about the 100-foot, facade facing. So yes, that's true. We could throw this all away and build an R5 something.
Or community facility.
Well, the community facilities are quite
6.5
limited in the
FAR.
current M zone. The community facilities are quite limited as to what you can do.
Right, but we have the city of Yes going through, which would
Well,
allow for
we'll see what
community
we'll see what
facilities
happens. We'll
in
see
the M3-1,
We'll see what happens.
but also in the M1.
We'll make it happen.
But
Go ahead, carry on, sorry, I just want to interject.
Commissioner,
Important initiative that we're going to make our case for, so.
No,
go ahead.
there may be some modifications. You never can tell what that city council will do.
Well, that's for sure.
But let's assume you could have a 6.5 community facility, which could include a dorm with sleeping accommodations
Correct.
for a not-for-profit.
Correct.
It could be a religious institution.
Yep.
It could be lots of things.
Yes.
And did you look at any of those uses and what would likely be the design of those?
No, we've been focusing on this. The project was, property was purchased before the pandemic.
When was it purchased?
2019, I believe. Con Ed put it up for auction, I think in 2016 or 2017. Yeah.
I can say something to the bulk as well.
So that's what we were looking at the time, and we proceeded with that. The world has changed. Our client still believes that there is a market for this. There have been a number of commercial leases in Domino, and Dumbo's doing pretty well. We're several years away from project being built.
I mean, with so much empty office space all over, has your client really done marketing studies of office in this location, which is, aside from the bus, which is not great, public access to this site is somewhat limited. I assume that's why he wants a 200-plus car garage.
No, he wants I'm not saying he wants a 200-car park garage. That's what the environmental says we have to have in order not to have an impact. It was not something that was part of anyone's program. It came about from the environmental study that was done. So that's how it ended up being 200 and whatever the number of spaces are.
237, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
234.
Yeah. In terms of marketing studies, there haven't been any marketing studies since we're several years out, and the market recently has been very volatile, I guess, or maybe not so volatile. And so we haven't done that, but we do know that there are a lot of, from the people who are part of the project team, who are very attuned to what's going on in the Williamsburg community, that there are a lot of, people working out of their living rooms and studies who are developing things who would want office space. We're looking at educational, medical, other kinds of uses that seem to be expanding. And for better or worse, I think congestion pricing will help Brooklyn to some extent. Having people who don't want to travel into Manhattan, given the pricing that will cause them, which is good for the environment in Manhattan and maybe good for the office market in Brooklyn. And we have all those new residents who are going to occupy the Naftali buildings, the Domino buildings.
Is Naftali actually going to build?
Sorry?
We approved that project for the Naftali site when I was still at.
Naftali is under, the last time I walked by, when I went to the opening of the refinery building in Domino, something is under construction. So it is under construction.
Do we know
how far along?
What it's going to be?
I'm sorry?
Do we know what it's going to be they're constructing?
A residential building, yes. So for those reasons, our client believes that there will be a market that that he can tap into when this building is completed. And also, I think also the Navy Yard, I mean, the Navy Yard to some extent will help us. Their growth and having more industrial buildings, more industrial workers, more industrial companies. They do have office needs, and so that they will also find a home in this building. So it's situated at a good location in terms of workforce, in terms of nearby residents, in terms of growing businesses that would be looking for space. So they are, I don't know what the term is, optimistic or...
But why a zone that would allow this much development? Why not an M13 as opposed to an M15?
Because this is bigger. I mean, I
know it's bigger,
yeah.
but...
I mean, that's...
Do we want, the question, of course, is do we want that much bulk and that much height on the waterfront? I heard your explanation, and I respect it, but I still have concerns. Sorry.
Well, we may disagree on the density. That's...
And last but not least, given that this is a waterfront site and it's subject to all of those 100-year floodplains, 20-year, what are the measures that you are taking both in the site and in the underground parking garage to protect the site from surges as well as flooding?
Okay, I know there are requirements, but these people are smarter than I am about that.
So, obviously, the building it's illustrative, it's not fully designed, but there is a cellar. We are in Zone X, but, you know, we know where the future of the city is headed. So, you know, the foundation as a baseline would be waterproofed as any other waterfront foundation would need to be, just for the water in the earth, right?
And breakout?
Coming in?
Would there be breakout walls and other things?
I don't know that, off the top of my head. Yeah, right now it's, you know, designed as a bathtub, and the structure essentially would be designed to resist the hydrostatic pressure from the outside. It's not a wet design to allow water in and pass through, or at the moment. And because of this grading of the site, you know, we're well above at least current BFE, DFE at the top end of the site and at the occupied entry levels and things of that nature. And the only entry point into the cellar off the streetscape at the moment is the parking garage entrance, which, you know, is easy enough to dry proof in a conventional detail these days. Anything that would ever get into the building and could get into the garage via stairwells or elevators, all those entry points are also above the BFE, DFE. So, you know, as a baseline, a solid waterproof bathtub is a starting point on, you know, bottom sides and top, because there are plaza conditions, and then addressing the what we see as a limited amount of openings that could present themselves as an issue with dry proofing.
And last question, it would appear from the drawings we see that you are decreasing the amount of permeability on the site. Is that correct?
I mean, the current site is a asphalt parking lot, right? That's been broken up over many years, and there used to be a building there that was demolished. So, you know, what's in the ground is probably a mix of the old building and earth and then repaved. So, historically, we're probably increasing the permeability, I think, based on kind of the amount of green and soils at the water. We don't have the cellar plan with us, but the footprint of the cellar is actually under the building. It's not all the way to the waterfront. It doesn't go underneath the esplanade. So I think that's an important thing to, you know, understand. And to Ray's point, the parking is there to accommodate what the EIS requires. If there's ever an opportunity to make it smaller, I think that would be desirable, to minimize that footprint.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Could you talk about the public access around the property? What would be the extent of the access? When is there 24-hour access to the waterfront? If not, then give me the length and breadth of the access hours.
I believe it's 24-hour. I'd have to look back at the park department.
Yeah, Ray, I think it
agreement.
said in the materials, it said 8 to 12, I think.
6 a.m. to 1.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
6 a.m. to 1.
That's what I have in there, but.
At all points, I think, you know, the streetscape.
That's what, 18 hours?
The center.
There are no fences and gates.
$17 hours.
And just to make sure you heard Rick's point, there are, and we had this conversation with staff, was.
Can you step up to the mic so we can hear you a little better?
Apologies. If you didn't hear Rick, he was noting that there are no fences or terminations, you know, either at the barriers, either at the visual corridor division or at the center of the site. So it's, you know, probably more of a security timeline in that intent. So just want to make that point clear.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Eppershad?
Just 2 quick questions, because a lot of questions I was thinking about was asked by Commissioner Benjamin and Vice Chair Knuckles. In terms of the hours of operation for the parking garage, will that be available even during the weekends and stuff? What is your...
Yes, the public parking garage would be 24/7.
Okay. And what's the estimated timeline of construction? Say this does go through. What do you guys project?
What are we?
Has that been discussed, thought about?
Here's our construction expert.
Right, thank you. Hi, good morning. Jeff Rubin from planner with Philip of Even Associates. As stated in the environmental impact statement, it's approximately 22-month construction period. There may be additional time once the building's completed for individual tenants to fit out their spaces, but in terms of the overall construction period, 22 months. I mean, keep in mind that the site is already vacant, so there's no need for demolition of existing structures and that sort of thing.
And that timeline is after the 4 months that people can sue. Usually banks will wait for that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Just a question.
Commissioner Cerullo?
And just at the end of the presentation, Nick, you sort of got cut short for a moment about the loading dock, and you mentioned a pedestrian walkway that was sort of, it seemed adjacent to it. It was hard to really understand. Could you just share what the relationship is between the loading area and the pedestrian space? And is there how that conflict, if there is a conflict at all, is handled?
Okay, let me get the, there we go. Okay, so we spent a lot of time with DOT on how to work on the loading and the garage entrance. Originally, we had a garage exit in this location that you see on this drawing where the loading docks are. And DOT felt that would have too much traffic crossing the bike lane and the public way. This is a very heavily used bike lane along Kent. So we swapped that out, the entrance and exit to the below ground public parking garage are on Division. And the loading docks are here on Kent. And we modified the design so that the trucks would come in, would head in and head out, so that the driver is always looking at the bike path. He's never backing into the bike path. The area that you see the truck on now, like in the yellow color, I guess, that area is, as Rick mentioned, is paved in the same way as other public walkways are. So therefore, the entrance to the building and the sidewalk adjacent to it are, to a pedestrian, look like they should walk on it. It's not asphalt. Doesn't look like a driveway, but it does allow for the trucks to back in and out. The peak hour truck movements are 10 trucks during the peak hour, which is much less than currently with the buses that are parked on the site. So from the pedestrian point of view, from the bike lane point of view, we think this is a good solution to where we have to have a loading docks, and putting the loading docks with the parking entrance, with the parking and loading for the Naftali, all on Division, which is a dead-end street, just didn't work. And this is what we came up with DOT.
I understand. I appreciate that clarification, just a little further explanation. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benjamin.
Last question from me. Were there any shadow impacts on Roberto Clemente Park from this building?
So the EIS found that there would be some shadows cast on the park, but not a shadows impact, meeting the criteria that we follow for the seeker guidance.
And how significant? Obviously, they weren't significant in terms of seeker, but can you give us an idea of, I'm sorry, I don't have the EIS in front of me, so, or the notice.
Oh, and candidly, nor do I.
Okay.
So if you
but
like...
if you could get back to me.
Yeah, we can get back to you in writing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, I see no further questions for you all, the applicant team, so I will thank you all for your time and attention here. And I will just take a look to see if there are members of the public who wish to testify on this item. But you all are free to have a seat whenever you're ready. And I will note that I do not see members of the public wishing to testify on this item. Madam Secretary, does that comport with your understanding as well?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, well, thank you. With that, I'm going to give a final call. Thank you. Final call for members of the public on calendar 9, 10, 11. Seeing none, we will close the hearing on calendars 9, 10, 11 and move on to our votes for today. Thank you all for allowing me to just change the order slightly. I just want to make sure that that we had the folks who were coming in the room. Okay, Madam Secretary, let's do it.
Okay, so Chair, I will just note on calendar numbers 9, 10, and 11, the record is going to remain open through Tuesday, May 28th at 5 p.m. to receive written comments on the draft environmental impact statement.
Great.
Okay. The next part of the calendar is the report section. Borough Brooklyn, calendar numbers 4 and 5, 2118 Avenue U, calendar 15, calendar number, or CD 15, calendar number 4, C230351ZMK, calendar number 5, N230352ZRK, and the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 2118 Avenue U. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 4 and 5, Chair Garodnick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin.
Aye.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Crowell.
Yes.
Commissioner Goodrich.
Yes.
Commissioner Kamani.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 4 and 5. Borough of Queens, calendar number 6, 2724 College Point Boulevard, Commercial Overlay, CD7, C220185ZMQ, and the matter of an application for a zoning map amendment concerning 2724 College Point Boulevard, Commercial Overlay. For a favorable report on calendar number 6, Chair Garodnick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin. Aye. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Crowell.
Yes.
Commissioner Goodrich.
Yes.
Commissioner Kamani.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 6. Borough of Queens, calendar number 7, 5875 Queens Midtown Expressway rezoning, CD2, C230276ZMQ, and the matter of application for a zoning map amendment concerning 5875 Queens Midtown Expressway rezoning. For a favorable report on calendar number 7, Chair Garodnick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin. Aye. Commissioner Cerullo?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowell?
Yes.
Commissioner Goodrich?
Yes.
Commissioner Kamani? Yes. Commissioner Medin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad?
Recused.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 7. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 8, 90 Merrick Avenue, CD2 N240256 ZCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 90 Merrick Avenue for the adoption of calendar number 8. Chair Grodnick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin. Aye. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Crowell.
Yes.
Commissioner Goodrich.
Yes.
Commissioner Kamani.
Yes.
Commissioner Medin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Calendar number 8 has been adopted. Okay, our next public hearing item, I'll go ahead and call it. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Bronx Metro North Station area. CDs 9, 10, and 11. Calendar number 12, C240015ZMX. Calendar number 13, N240016ZRX. Calendar number 14, C240157MMX. Calendar number 15, C240158MMX. Calendar number 16, C240159MMX. Calendar number 17, C240160MMX. Calendar number 18, C240163MMX. Public hearing. In the matter of applications for a zoning map and zoning text amendments and city map amendments concerning Bronx Metro North Station area. Notice. A public hearing is being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with the above ULURP actions to receive written comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This hearing is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review.
Great. Thank you.
Madam Secretary and Chair, please note the record I am recused from this action.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we're going to call upon the Department of City Planning to make some introductory remarks and summary here on the proposal, and then we're going to move directly into public testimony. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. We are pleased to return for today's public hearing following the Community Board, Borough President, and Borough Board referral period for the Bronx Metro North Neighborhood Plan and its associated actions, which were certified by the Commission on January 22nd of this year. Today, we'd like to recap the larger goals of the planning work, briefly revisit the proposal as certified, and summarize the votes from all land use participants to date. As we know, today the East Bronx lacks regional rail service. Tomorrow, new rail service will mean greater accessibility to the city and region. This means more choices where Bronxites may choose to work, live, and enjoy themselves, as well as significantly improved connections from the region to critical medical, research, and job institutions within the borough. New service also represents a unique opportunity to plan together to thoughtfully integrate these new stations into the fabric of the communities they'll serve. Over the past 6 years, the Department of City Planning has worked with the MTA, community members, and area institutions, among many others, to envision what it might mean to grow thoughtfully around this new service. This work has included developing a joint vision for what it means to create new front doors to these Bronx communities and a world-class entry point to one of the city's most important job centers. It also means strengthening job centers by allowing them to grow while also allowing for the growth of housing and retail needed for the success and growth of our Bronx employers. It means mending seams between communities created by a history of inadequate public infrastructure and facilities, as well as allowing for a mix of housing and retail near new rail service in areas of the borough that have seen little such growth over the years. The 4 station areas span areas that are demographically, geographically, and structurally quite diverse. As such, planning work over the years has taken a station-by-station approach. Importantly, while planning work has and will continue to proceed around all 4 stations, the land use actions contemplated today relate specifically to facilitating a series of proposed land use changes at the Parkchester, Van Nest, and Morris Park station areas. These actions span 3 Bronx community districts, 9, 10, and 11, and will facilitate the development of some 7,500 units of new housing, including up to 2,000 units of new permanently income-restricted units in an area of the city that has seen little. They will support the growth of some 2.5 million square feet of commercial and community facility uses and an estimated 10,000 jobs. These actions consist of a series of zoning map, zoning text, and city map amendments that together aim to promote the growth of housing and retail, strengthen job centers, and promote industries of the future, as well as create an improved public realm. The proposal under review builds on a number of principles established over the years, including leveraging new rail service for the creation of housing near transit, strengthening job centers and corridors, encouraging uses and development compatible with transit-oriented development, and increasing density on major streets, at large sites, and at new transit stations. We'll now step through each of these actions individually, beginning with our zoning map amendments. Here we have structured our proposal around 7 distinct sub-areas. We have the station-adjacent sub-area at Morris Park, where we propose a full commercial district, C44 district, with an R8 residential equivalent. We have transitional residential sub-areas meant to respond to the surrounding lower-density neighborhoods, and where we propose the mapping of a mix of R6A, R61, and R72 districts. We have transitional mixed-use areas, where we propose the mapping of full C43 and C44 commercial districts with residential equivalents. We have the high-density residential sub-areas near the future Parkchester Van Ness station area, where we propose the mapping of R8X districts. We have station-adjacent retail, where we propose the mapping of a C24 commercial overlay. Automotive sub-areas, where we propose a minor change in parking regulations from the existing C81 to C82 district. And one large opportunity site at 1601 Bronxdale, where we propose the mapping of an M11A industrial and R73 residential district. Together, we believe those changes will help facilitate development of a vibrant mixed-use district centered around new transit service. Now we'll shift to the zoning text amendments. Here, the department proposes the following zoning text amendments: the establishment and mapping of the special Eastchester East Tremont Corridor District, the establishment of the R61 and M11A districts, the mapping of mandatory inclusionary housing areas, the extension of the transit zone, and the removal of language that exclusively applies to C84 districts within special planned community preservation district areas. Generally speaking, the special Eastchester East Tremont Corridor District and its components seek to promote the growth of housing and employment centers around transit, foster an adequate range of services and amenities for residents, workers, and visitors, ensure a lively and attractive urban streetscape around the stations along major corridors, and create a cohesive pedestrian and public realm network that would better connect future developments with future station areas and the surrounding neighborhoods. To support residential growth near the new stations, the special district includes provisions to modify FARs and building heights in certain R districts in line with the City for Housing Opportunity proposal, incentivize the construction of schools, and eliminate parking requirements for new housing developments, also in line with the City for Housing Opportunity proposal. To encourage the creation of a lively public realm, the special district proposes a density bonus for public realm improvements, authorization for bulk flexibility to accommodate bonus floor area, a transfer mechanism at Morris Park to facilitate the development of a station plaza, an allowance for commercial activity on the second floors in C24 districts, and streetscape regulations to be updated in line with the zoning for economic opportunity proposal. And to grow existing job centers, specifically at Morris Park, the special district proposes simplifying and rationalizing bulk envelopes. Apologies, one slide off. Simplifying and rationalizing bulk envelopes for non-residential uses, modifying FARs in C43 and C44 districts, facilitating development on shallow lots along the rail line, and creating a consistent parking and loading framework for non-residential uses. Finally, in an area of the city that has seen very few mandatory inclusionary housing areas mapped since its inception nearly a decade ago, and few affordable units produced, the Bronx Metro North Plan proposes the largest mapping of MIH since the Jerome Avenue study in 2018. To complement the MTA's work and our own proposed land use actions, DCP also proposes a series of potential public realm improvements around each of the station areas, as well as 5 specific city map actions intended to facilitate aspects of that work. At Morris Park, in addition to the wider range of proposed improvements shown here, 3 city map actions are the subject of the land use actions contemplated as part of the ULURP process. They are highlighted in pink here and include an action to facilitate a future plaza at Morris Park, an action to facilitate the widening Marconi Street to include sidewalks on its western side, and a mapping envelope to facilitate a potential future extension of Marconi Street to extend north to Pelham Parkway. At Parkchester Van Ness, beyond the series of proposed improvements to the public realm, 2 mapping actions included as part of this application are intended to facilitate aspects of this work. They include a demapping action to facilitate public realm improvements and create a more regular parcel for future development, shown in blue, and a mapping action to extend Pierce Avenue into the large site at 1601 Bronxdale, shown in pink, meant to provide public access into the site, as well as a potential third station connection and publicly accessible open space. The Bronx Metro North study is the subject of a full EIS and racial equity report. As part of the environmental review process, the DEIS identified impacts on the categories shown on the screen. Mitigation measures were identified as part of the DEIS and are being further explored in advance of the final DEIS. Okay, so in summary, these actions include a series of zoning map, zoning text, and city map amendments in Bronx Community Districts 9, 10, and 11, intended to facilitate the growth of housing and retail, as well as office space near new transit. This includes up to 7,500 units of new housing, including up to 2,000 units of permanently income-restricted housing units in an area of the city that has seen little such growth, as well as up to 2.5 million square feet of commercial and community facility uses, 10,000 jobs, and a series of public realm improvements. These actions taken together will help to ensure that the future stations are thoughtfully integrated into the fabric of the communities they'll serve, that long-standing gaps in housing production, including affordable housing, near the station areas are addressed, that institutions and employers are poised for growth and success, and that Bronx sites are well positioned to take advantage of these opportunities. In March of this year, Community Boards 9, 10, and 11 held public hearings on the application. Bronx Community Boards 9 and 11 voted favorably with conditions, while Bronx Community Board 10 voted unfavorably, also with conditions. In April and May of this year, the Bronx Borough President's Office and the Bronx Borough Board held hearings, with the Borough Board issuing a favorable recommendation and the Borough President issuing a favorable recommendation with conditions. We would just like to note that all of these materials, including votes and conditions, detailed environmental review documentation, and the specifics of the land use application are available on DCP's ZAP search portal by simply searching for Bronx Metro North. And with that, we've concluded our abbreviated presentation, and I'll hand it off.
Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate your setting the scene here for us today. Obviously, we went through this in great detail on Monday in our review session, but I do want to just thank you, Michael, and the Bronx team for all of your incredible work in getting us to this point. You've done an amazing, amazing job, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm really pleased that we are joined today by the Borough President of the great borough of the Bronx, who is with us on Zoom, my friend Vanessa Gibson. We're going to call her up and promote her so she can be seen and heard. Madam President, thank you very much for being with us, and whenever you are ready, we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair. I couldn't hear you. Did you call me to testify yet?
Good morning. I not only called you, I said some nice things too. So I will just say we're very pleased to have you here, and I love to see you. So thank you. And whenever you are ready, you can go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Dan Garatnik. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our commissioners at the City Planning Commission, as well as our entire Bronx City Planning team. Thank you so much to Paul and Michael and the entire team at Bronx DCP. I come before all of you this morning to express my firm support for the transformative Metro North expansion project in the great borough of the Bronx, particularly focusing on the crucial additions that are planned for our borough through the Penn Access Initiative. This project is not just about transportation, not just about 4 additional stations in the East Bronx, but it really represents an incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to expand many of our communities, to add additional value, and to really drive smart economic growth. While the Metro North study is specific to the areas within the rezoning that was outlined by DCP, I will speak more broadly to all 4 of our stations in Co-op City, in Hunts Point, in Morris Park, and the Parkchester Van Ness communities. The prospect of linking Co-op City, Hunts Point, Morris Park, and Parkchester Van Ness to regional train service is really monumental. These neighborhoods have long been in support of getting train access, transportation equity, and this project will really help to create the transit equity for many of our existing families that live in the East Bronx today, many of whom are located in transit deserts. Imagine saving up to 60 minutes on trips to Penn Station and 75 minutes to Connecticut, returning valuable time to many of our commuters' lives, fostering family bonds, as well as personal well-being. These new stations truly promise economic vitality, as this project is projected to generate about 10,000 jobs, 7,500 residential units, with 1,900 being permanently affordable housing, creating opportunities for really deeply affordable housing, senior housing, veteran housing, and home ownership opportunities, which many residents will speak about. And those who know me know that I am a true advocate. I'm always talking about pathways to home ownership because it creates pathways to the middle class. And that's what families and New Yorkers truly need. So I really see this as economic growth and pathways to economic prosperity for New Yorkers and for many of our Bronx families. This proposal will add over 1.2 million square feet of commercial space and nearly 1.3 million square feet of community facilities that can underscore many of our commitment to provide inclusivity and holistic growth opportunities that will support our neighborhoods. The children and the families and the older adults that live and work in our communities deserve access to community spaces, recreation, educational institutions, early child care, supporting our small businesses, the commercial business districts, truly important as we face many of the challenges here in the Bronx. So I want to address specific station considerations and broader community impacts for all of our commissioners. For Morris Park, aligning development with job centers like the Hutchison Metro Center and Montefiore Einstein Medical Campus is essential. I support the strategic growth along key corridors such as Eastchester Road and Stillwell Avenue, fostering a vibrant business hub. The one concern I do have and raise to all of your attention is in this area is to remove the C43 district by Seminole and 10 Brook Avenue, as it is not contiguous with a larger study, and it does not make sense to rezone this area without a project that is already planned. I'm incredibly supportive of the future Marconi Street to Pelham Parkway connection. We're excited about that. That can help to alleviate a lot of traffic from our local streets in the area, which is one of our top concerns that we have heard consistently from residents and employees that work in the Morris Park community. This connection is a game changer, and it needs to be prioritized as a real capital commitment for all of us. For the Parkchester and Van Ness, zoning changes along East Tremont Avenue, Bronxdale Avenue, and White Plains Road will help to spur development that meets our local community needs. The future growth of the area through transit-oriented development needs to be partnered with infrastructure improvements that are vital for accessibility and livability. I will continue working with our New York City Council Majority Leader, Amanda Farias, to determine if there should be added height to the Parkchester Preservation Corporation's parking garages on East Tremont Avenue. And I want DCP and our commissioners to know that this conversation is still fluid as public events and public engagement is happening now on the ground, specifically with the Parkchester community. Co-op City in the Northeast Bronx has unique challenges that really demand innovative solutions, from parking strategies to public-private partnerships with River Bay and many others in the Northeast Bronx. Ensuring robust bus connections and prioritizing zero-emission transportation absolutely aligns with our commitment and our blueprint to environmental justice. In the Hunts Point community, down in Community Board 2, we must prioritize pedestrian safety amid increased traffic that we see on the Bruckner as well as on the local Bruckner Boulevard. Investments in e-vehicle infrastructure will mitigate pollution, benefiting this vibrant yet underserved community. Across all the stations, Affordable housing must be a cornerstone of development. Investments in our schools, our healthcare infrastructure, our libraries, our cultural institutions, the local precincts, the hospitals, public safety, green spaces like pedestrian plazas are imperative to sustaining our residents and growing our community. The Hunts Point and the Morris Park communities are two of the top 10 business hubs in the entire city of New York, while the Co-op City and the Parkchester Van Ness communities contain two of the largest planned communities in our city with the Parkchester condominiums. We need to ensure that these communities have the existing infrastructure and the investments in place so they can continue to thrive. I want to commend the collaborative efforts that have really helped to shape this proposal, from DCP's extensive outreach on the ground. We've been working with Community Board 2, Community Board 9, Community Board 10, and Community Board 11, to the elected officials that we've joined with our majority leader, Councilmember Kevin Riley, former Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez, our new Councilmember Christy Marmorato, and Land Use Chair Councilmember Rafael Salamanca. We've hosted community engagements, public workshops, and we really got a lot of buy-in from the residents, from the families, from the stakeholders on the ground. We wanted this process to be extremely inclusive. We did not want any residents to feel left out. A $3 billion investment is one that is a milestone, it's historic, it's transformative, and we don't want to turn any money down when it comes to economic development in our borough. So we have a very unique opportunity to truly envision a vision of equity, of transit-oriented development that can uplift our borough. I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge again the incredible work on the ground by the Bronx Department of City Planning, really talking to all of our community boards and making sure they fully understand what is in store, making people feel connected, not feeling that this proposal takes away, but it adds. And so that is important. I wanted to be succinct in my testimony today, but I understand that, due to time limits and you have a public hearing following me, but you all know that we have a much longer comprehensive breakdown of each station, and the capital needs to really support these neighborhoods. It's in my 19-page recommendation that you all should have, and we will make sure if you do not have it, that you do get it. But I do look forward to the continuous work with Chair Garatnik, as well as our commissioners and the New York City Council, to move this plan forward, particularly around the capital commitments. We need to make sure we address school seats for early childcare, for UPK, for 3K, for early education. We need to protect our local precincts that serve these communities, the local hospital. We also have Mercy University that's on the Hutchinson campus. We have hotels. We have a lot that is happening in the East Bronx and a lot of opportunities. So in conclusion, I am asking for your consideration to support this proposal anchored in the shared aspirations of our communities, aligned with Mayor Eric Adams and the administration's shared values of equal opportunities for all New Yorkers. I truly think it's important for us as a borough to seize this historic moment and this opportunity to build a Bronx that is thriving, that is accessible, that is sustainable, and one that is truly inclusive for all residents and all families in the Bronx and across the city of New York. I thank you for your time this morning, and certainly encourage you to look at our 19-page recommendation. We've outlined a lot of just terms for your consideration that we want to be a part of your conversations as you deliberate and as you also get feedback from our local stakeholders. So I thank you so much, Chair Garatnik, and thank you to all the commissioners. And we look forward to building the Bronx and building the great city of New York. Thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Madam Borough President. We appreciate your partnership throughout this process and your kind words for the Department of City Planning, Bronx office. We certainly agree, and we appreciate you and your staff as well, and your thoughtful 19 pages of recommendations. We also appreciate, so thank you for that, and we look forward to working with you and your team throughout the remainder of this process. So thank you. Let me move on in the agenda to the next speaker signed up, who we have an abundance and a great abundance of Bronx Borough Presidents here. We have the former Borough President of the Bronx, Ruben Diaz Jr. Mr. President, good to see you too. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, to you and all of the commissioners here. First, let me just start off by asking you for forgiveness, my hoarse voice. I was at the Garden last night, and so great game, go Knicks. I appreciate the welcome. I just want to say that this is a topic and an area that I've given over a decade worth of thought to, not only the Morris Park Metro North Station, which is the one I'm going to be specifically speaking of, but all of the other three in the Bronx, in the Boogie Down Bronx. Today I stand before you as a recovering politician, and I am now the Senior Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at Montefiore Health System, or Montefiore Center, Medical Center, with nearly 8 million patient interactions a year and over 35,000 employees. Montefiore Health System is the largest healthcare network in the Bronx, Westchester, and Hudson Valley. As one of New York's premier academic health systems, Montefiore is a recognized leader in providing exceptional quality and personalized, accountable care across its footprint. Montefiore continues to be a prominent leader in biomedical research, and as such, we have the opportunity to expand that where it enhances better health care and economic opportunities for the neighborhood. We have a prime opportunity here to build on what I would call a wellness village. I want you to think about that for a minute. This would be a place where life sciences and the biotech hub that would be the model and the paradigm, not only for New York City, not only for New York State, but I believe the nation. To achieve this, we must ask ourselves, how do we create an area around it that is conducive to attracting the best and brightest to the neighborhood and the campus? Our vision is to have a new hospital environment where technology meets hospitality for our patients and its employees. We envision an environment that promotes both health and healing. In addition, thanks to the generosity of $1 billion, $1 billion donation from Dr. Ruth Gottesman, which is the largest gift made to any medical school in the country, Einstein College of Medicine School will provide free tuition in perpetuity, which will attract students from a diverse set of backgrounds and experience regardless of socioeconomic status, in line with our mission and commitment to uplift the community we operate in. In turn, it is critical for Montefiore that the public investment in Morris Park be inclusive, thoughtful, and sustainable. This includes improvements in the public realm, the construction of affordable housing, retail and office space, and recreational opportunities for both the residents and the visitors that we will be attracting to this area. We believe that the Morris Park Metro North Station, am I done here already?
Your time's officially up. We'll pose a question to you, though, to give you a second here. Tell us a little bit, just for a minute more, about why you think this is important.
Well, this is important because not only will it create the opportunity for us to have more housing, more jobs, obviously have a transportation hub, but also because at Montefiore, we want to be a partnership with the city. We want to be a partnership with the Metro hub, the Metro Center across on the other side of the track, so that we can provide a pavilion, a high acuity research tower. We want to do a cancer center. And we not only need to continue to attract scientists and doctors and students, but we want to make sure that when their families come to the Bronx or to that area, that we create the amenities that are needed. And so therefore, in order for us to have the train station that we finally have fought so hard for, we need a surrounding area. We need and we ask for this commission to vote on this plan on this application so that as we move forward, we can provide the health care to the people of the Bronx, we could provide the jobs to the people of the Bronx, and to the entire region. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your being here and those words. I will just say I share your excitement about the future of Morris Park and in connection with the great plans that Montefiore has for the medical center, in addition to the extraordinary boost that you noted in that gift for the Albert Einstein School of Medicine, the 23,000 jobs that exist today within a half mile of this future station, and the opportunities that we would unlock through land use actions that you were talking about today and that are pending before this commission. So I think, I certainly share your excitement, but wanted to just say that we really appreciate your being here. Let me see. Yes, Commissioner Goodrich.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I have a question. I am familiar with the Bronx. I worked in the Bronx for many years. Obviously, you have a much deeper understanding and knowledge of the Bronx. My specific question is regarding the transit access. The Metro North is obviously more expensive. It's much more expensive than the subway, and we don't have any indication as of now that the prices are going to change. So I am a bit concerned about whether it will actually be accessible to the residents of the Bronx, and I'm wondering about your insight about that. Because when I think about it, I think this is the main question that a lot of people bring up. It's great to have the subway stop specifically there. I'm sorry, the Metro North stop specifically there, but if it's $15 for one way or $7 extra in addition to the subway, how will that help the residents? So I'm betting that you have probably heard this concern as well, so I would love to hear your insight.
It's an excellent question. The fact is that this is something that we also thought of in all of our years of advocating for these Metro North stations. In other boroughs, they've already implemented sort of what they call city ticket, and we believe that this is something that needs to happen not only for the existing boroughs where it's at now in pilot fashion. It should come to the Bronx. It should be done throughout the city of New York, number one. Number two, I think that we want folks to come back who have moved to Connecticut, who have moved to Westchester, so they could continue to re-experience the boogie down Bronx. And I know that while there's maybe a little bit of a bump in price, we find that to be the case now with the ferry service. And I just took the ferry service a couple of days ago, and it is busting out the seams. The reason being is that people want the experience, but also remember that many folks also believe that if taking the Metro North puts you into Midtown in under 35, 40 minutes, or many folks in the Bronx have job opportunities in up north, Westchester County, and Connecticut, they can get there 25, 30 minutes. There is a value in the time that you save. The most valuable thing that we have is time. And so when you look at folks, particularly in the east part of the Bronx, which is, as the borough president mentioned, a transportation hub, to take 2 and 3 different forms of transportation to get you either to Manhattan or to Connecticut or to be stuck in traffic. And of course, now that you have congestion pricing coming, some folks will easily trade a little bump in price, and I don't want to speak for everybody. I think that we need to do more to make sure that we make it affordable to everyone. But I think that, some folks look at that as a trade-off that they would do if it means having an hour and a half, or 2 hours back of their daily lives so they could be with their loved ones, so they could help their children with their homework or pick them up from school.
Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony and your time. Thank you. Okay. Next, I'm going to call up Jennifer Sun. Hello and welcome.
Good morning, Chair Garodnick and the commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Jennifer Sun, and I serve as Executive Vice President of Planning for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before the Commission in support of the proposed Bronx Metro North Station Area Plan. EDC works on behalf of the city to create a vibrant, inclusive, and globally competitive economy for all New Yorkers. The Bronx Metro North Station Area Plan is critical to advancing these aims in the Bronx. The creation of 4 new planned Metro North stations in Co-op City, Morris Park, Parkchester, Van Nest, and Hunts Point will expand existing job centers and promote jobs of the future while also increasing housing options and open space. One of EDC's 4 strategy pillars is to grow innovation industries with a focus on equity. The life sciences industry is a critical component of the city's innovation economy. It is one of the fastest growing and top performing sectors in terms of company growth, revenue, and job creation. EDC is focused on this industry not only for its immense overall growth potential, but also for its ability to create opportunities for good paying jobs that are accessible to New Yorkers from across a broad educational spectrum. And the industry's focus on providing life-saving therapies and cures for some of the most complex global medical challenges. EDC believes in the potential for Morris Park to further support and advance the life sciences industry in New York City, while continuing to serve as a major employment center for the Bronx. Today, Morris Park is one of 6 healthcare and life sciences industry clusters. It is also the largest job center in the Bronx with over 23,000 jobs within a half mile of the new Metro North Station. Significantly, nearly half of all Morris Park employees are also Bronx residents. Morris Park anchors a budding life sciences ecosystem for New York City. The area is home to a large concentration of healthcare and academic institutions, including Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Montefiore Hospital, New York City Health and Hospitals Jacobi Medical Center, Mercy University, Calvary Hospital, and the Bronx Psychiatric Center. Last year, these institutions received over $196 million in combined National Institutes of Health funding. The Albert Einstein College also supports the creation of future life sciences businesses by housing an incubator for startup companies providing needed space for the development of new therapies and innovations while also driving the creation of new jobs. The new Metro North Station establishes a regional connection for Morris Park, providing faster access to Stamford, New Haven, and Manhattan, while also allowing workers and patients to access Morris Park more easily for employment and to receive care at area medical institutions. So all to say that we believe in the future of Morris Park, as well as Hunts Point, to continue to thrive as job centers as a result of this investment.
Great. Thank you very much, Jennifer. We appreciate your being here. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Okay, let me move on. We are joined by. Okay, I'm going to call up next Daniel Kaplan. Who is with us in the room. Mr. Kaplan, welcome.
How are you?
Okay.
Good morning. So, good morning, Commissioners. Dan Kaplan, Senior Partner at FX Collaborative Architects. We've had the honor to work on 2 projects in the Parkchester Van Nest site. One is south of the tracks, one is north of the tracks. Together they are 2,800, represent 2,800 units. I am going to speak on the 1601 Unionport site that's south of the tracks. I also brought a model. I would like to pass it around if possible. David Karnofsky, who's going to follow me, will talk about the north of the track site, and I'm happy to provide testimony on that if you'll allow me. So we've had the honor to be working close collaboration with the Bronx office on these 2 sites, and the 1601 Unionport is a prominent full block site. Our proposed master plan for the block is designed to bring significant benefits to the neighborhood. It encompasses the development of over 500 residents, 25,000 square feet of neighborhood-focused retail and a community space. And very importantly, 20,000 square feet of landscape public open space. Parkchester has many positive qualities, but it lacks a civic and commercial focus. Located steps away from the new Parkchester Van Nest Metro Station, the proposed public space will deliver the needed focal point for neighborhood activities. It is also worth noting that this site, 1601 Unionport, is completely clear and shovel ready. While the rezoning text supports many, if not almost all aspects of the master plan we worked on collaboratively, we believe that the current 17-story height limit poses challenges to the quality of the open space and results in elongated and ungainly building forms. We are submitting exhibits that illustrate the benefits, allowing the northern portion of the site to reach 21 stories. I have also brought a model, if you would allow, I could pass it around. But in general, we wholeheartedly endorse and champion the rezoning plan, recognizing its potential to catalyze positive transformation in the Parkchester neighborhood and beyond. We respectfully urge the Commission to consider the minor modifications we have outlined to enhance the overall quality of the development. I just want to add on the site to the north that David will talk about in a minute. My conclusion is, me and my firm work on many large projects, and I firmly believe that the DCP zoning framework establishes the conditions for an architecturally distinguished and environmentally responsible development that reflects sound urban design principles and will create much-needed housing, build community, and enhance the quality of life for residents and neighbors alike. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let me just paint a little bit of a picture for us as it relates to Parkchester. Obviously, we have private sites at Unionport and Bronxdale Avenue that are anticipated to be developed.
Correct.
Tell us how you think that fits into the broader neighborhood and the future Metro North Station, and paint a picture for us as to what we should think of as that neighborhood on an ongoing basis and how it serves existing residents and future residents and what we would picture there.
Thank you for your question. So what I just so applaud about this proposal is that it is building housing where it most belongs, near transit, near other civic infrastructure. What's nice about the text and the scale of these sites is that they bring scale that allows for other civic infrastructure and support to come with it. 1601 Bronxdale, it's confusing about 1601, but the north of the track site has site for a 100,000 square foot school site, and a large extent, 5 privately owned public spaces, a beautiful boulevard connection, potential connection over and above to the station. The site south of the track brings with it this idea of a civic space. So I think what's great about this and what we've tried to embrace, and we've had fruitful dialogue with the department on, is incentivizing these civic infrastructures that come along with the housing. The other thing I would say is the tailoring of massing to basically, these are taller buildings than generally what's around the neighborhood, and the ability to tier the massing and step it down so that, yes, they're taller than the context, but that there are transition zones. I hope that addressed your question.
It does. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Would you like me to pass the model around so they can see the contrast, or would you prefer that we...
Yeah, you can pass that around, but I will...
yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to call...
Pay attention to you. So there are 2 schemes, one lower and one taller. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you. I am now really pleased to welcome, we have another elected official, local council member, Christy Marmorato is with us. Council member, thank you for joining us today. Whenever you are ready, you can go right ahead.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'd like to thank the Commission for allowing us to provide important and honest feedback on the Bronx Metro North Plan. To the residents of District 13 present and watching online, I've come here as your councilwoman to stand before you today with shared vision for the progress and development of our beloved community, shaped by the promise of the Metro North stations and the transformative opportunities that it should bring to our community. However, as we convene and discuss the proposal and redevelopment plans, it is essential to confront the pressing concerns that have emerged. Firstly, the property on Seminole and Mars Park Avenue needs to be removed from the proposal due to the fact that it does not fit within the community. It's been strongly voiced by me and my constituents alike. Second, the absence of parking mandate presents a significant challenge to many of our community who rely on their vehicles for daily transportation. While we want to embrace the expansion of public transportation options, we must acknowledge that for some, private vehicles remain a necessity due to the work obligations, family responsibilities, and the accessibility needs. Without adequate parking provisions, we risk placing an undue burden on these individuals, forcing them to choose between their mobility and livelihoods. From the beginning, the lack of green space has been proposed, and the oversight of our sewer infrastructures are urgent concerns that are being ignored. I need more green space. I've been saying this from the beginning. Our district faces imminent threat for coastal flooding, and by these changes in weather and aging infrastructure, without strategic investment in green space and infrastructure, stormwater management systems, we must leave our community vulnerable to the devastating consequences of flooding, including property damage, economic losses, and threats to public health and safety. Moreover, the proposed heights for some of these developments reaching up to 25 stories raises valid concerns and apprehension about the density, congestion, and community character. While we recognize the need for increased housing supply and economic development, we must approach the vertical expansion with caution and sensitivity to the existing fabric of our neighborhoods. Excessive heights have the potential to overshadow surrounding buildings, diminish sunlight, airflow, and strain the already burdened infrastructures and services. My constituents do not want more than 6 stories, so we must come to some kind of agreement that we can all walk away from this happy. Any plans for new development must strike a balance between growth and preservation, and I just really hope that we can get it together, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation, and hopefully everybody comes out a winner at the end of this. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Council Member. We appreciate your joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, let me move on to David Karnofsky.
Good morning, Chairman Garland and members of the Commission. I'm David Karnofsky from Fried Frank. We are Land Use Counsel to Himmel and Marengoff, the owners of the site at 1601 Bronxdale Avenue, as described by Dan. That's the northern site. I'm here to testify on behalf of the owner in support of the Metro North rezoning, and in particular, the zoning framework for 1601 Bronxdale. 1601 Bronxdale is an approximately 7.7 acre site. It's bounded by Bronxdale Avenue to the east, Amtrak and Metro North rights-of-way to the south, and Con Edison property to the west and the north. The site is currently Zone M11 and is occupied by a large warehouse building that houses active uses having approximately 370 employees. City planning describes the site in its proposal as an opportunity site, meaning, I think, that the redevelopment potential of the site is over the longer term. In recognition of this, city planning has proposed that the site be rezoned as a mixed-use district, pairing an M district with a residential district. This will allow the existing uses to remain as conforming uses until development moves forward. Under the zoning framework for the proposed site, 1601 would be transformed over time into a new transit-oriented neighborhood with the potential for more than 2,000 dwelling units, of which more than 500 would be MIH units, affordable units, as well as retail and community facility. The central spine of the neighborhood would be a new 90-foot wide mapped street that would run from Bronxdale Avenue into the interior of the site. The owner would be obligated to build the street as a condition of residential redevelopment, and the street, once completed, would be transferred to city ownership. The buildings would be lined along this boulevard with 5 open spaces interspersed along its length, 5 green spaces. The regulations would also require that the boulevard have landscape features. Another feature of the regulations that Dan touched on is the fact that up to 100,000 square foot of zoning floor area would be exempt from the calculation of floor area in order to accommodate a new public school. This means that if the city wants to proceed with the development of a new school at the site, there is room to do it, and it can be accommodated. As Dan indicated, the site lends itself to a composition of buildings with the lowest building heights along Bronxdale Avenue, rising in height as you move into the site away from the local neighborhood. For example, we've looked at one plan under which the buildings along Bronxdale Avenue itself would be about 155 feet. Buildings further west, as you move into the interior, would be in the 200 range, and the tallest building would be at the corner of where the Con Ed site is, far removed from the local residential neighborhood. And that building, we think, would be the ideal site for a school for which there is a height allowance to accommodate that 100,000 square feet. I should note that building heights above 185 feet under this plan would require City Planning Commission authorization, giving the Commission a say in how this ensemble, this tiering works. Finally, I just want to note that the location of the site affords us an extraordinary opportunity to provide a pedestrian connection to the Metro North station.
Thank you, Mr. Karnofsky. We have at least one question for you, so maybe we'll make sure you have a shot to finish up here. Vice Chair Knuckles.
Thank you, David. If you wish, conclude your statement, and then I just wanted you to elaborate on the R component of the MX designation.
Sure. So the zoning that's proposed is an R7.3, which has a base FAR of 6. It would be bonusable to 7.2 with the provision of the green spaces I described, the landscape space in the street, and the construction of the street as well. So that's the basic concept.
So that's analogous to what, R8, as we know it?
Close. Oh. And the reason for the R7.3 here is that you have a 90-foot wide street, which has about 100,000 square feet of area to it, and that doesn't generate floor area. So once this decision was made by the city that they wanted, that the city wants a mapped street through the site, the zoning district had to be adjusted to preserve the amount of floor area that was originally conceived of for the site, which was an R6.1. So the R7.3 is a response to the fact that about 100,000 square feet of the site doesn't generate floor area when it's mapped with street.
I see. So the western edge of the site would be, is that railroad?
The southern edge is railroad right-of-way that runs east-west.
Yeah.
The western edge is a large Con Ed site.
Right.
And the northern edge is a large Con Ed site. So as I indicated, the idea about the tiering that Dan described better than I could really is that as you go further into the interior of the site, which is a very large site, building heights can rise, and the largest, tallest building would be at the corner of the western and the northern boundaries of the site, right up against the Con Ed site, distant from Bronxdale Avenue, which is where the shorter buildings would be appropriate.
So the Con Ed sites for the foreseeable future are going to remain, or
yes, that is our understanding, that Con Ed will continue to operate at that site, has a major facility there.
And you mentioned approximately, you said 20-25% MIH?
It would be subject
25%,
yeah,
which would be the minimum.
Right.
MIH.
Yes, it's an MIH site, obviously, yes. And there would be a retail component as well. In that regard, the site on Bronxdale Avenue, we think, is ideal for to be sized with a supermarket, for example. That's where the retail component would be the largest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Okay, Mr. Karnofsky, thank you very much. Good to see you. Okay, let's move on. Next up, I have Brett Buer from Parkchester. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Garodnick, Commissioners. My name is Brett Buer, representative Parkchester Preservation Corporation. We have owned the two garage sites on the south side of East Tremont Avenue at the north end of the Parkchester neighborhood, known as 1990 and 2040 East Tremont Avenue for the past 25 years. These sites are occupied by a garage and office building, both of which are quite old and whose designs block East Tremont from the Parkchester community. We believe the Bronx Metro North rezoning is a positive step towards achieving several longstanding community and citywide goals, and we thank all the elected officials and agency staff that have helped advance the application for much-needed transit-oriented development. Based on the comments we have heard during the community planning process and subsequent stakeholder conversations, there is a need for the zoning text to unlock greater increases in affordable housing, parking, neighborhood connectivity, and street activation on the Parkchester garage sites, all of which would require a text to permit a greater maximum building height. The changes we currently seek are consistent with studies conducted by the department prior to the certification, included in this application's draft scope of work, which designated these sites R8, which is a significantly higher maximum building height. The certified text changes the zoning district to R8X, limited the height to 175 feet, which would not allow the full complement of programming we and our community envision, nor the full use of the permitted FAR. Our development objectives are in line with the community and include the provisions of ample parking for building residents, Parkchester residents, and the train station users, significant amounts of affordable housing, retail, and community facility space, and improved connectivity between East Tremont Avenue and the Parkchester community. However, to achieve all of these objectives, the maximum permitted building height must be higher than proposed. The existing heating plant located between the garage sites is approximately 265 feet in height and is a key reference point for height within the neighborhood. Keeping the proposed building height closer to this height of the heating plant allows for the buildings to remain in context and will meet the community's and department's goals while reinventing a multi-block stretch of Tremont Avenue that is currently dormant and unsafe. I want to reiterate that the Commission, that increased building height has received significant support to date. Both the Parkchester condo boards have written support for this. The Community Board 9's resolution supports this additional height, and the Borough President's comments and recommendations today as well support further study on this. Conversations between Parkchester and the neighborhood residents have this far been positive, and we continue to work with the majority leader, Arias, on this engagement.
Okay, thank you. Now, I understand the request is for the additional height beyond 175 feet. Is that correct?
Correct. We'd like to get the height in line with the 265. I think 260 is what we've targeted for the overall program that we're trying to do. And what a critical part is that we have the parking garages that are there currently, and we need to replace the parking that's currently being used within, the development plan, and that it starts with the need to do that. And then we know with this new train station, and given the parking constraints that already exist in Parkchester, that there's going to be need for additional parking, to deal with the activity that the station will generate.
What are the environmental limitations, if any, that relate to the existing smokestack that would be in between those two buildings?
The way that we've designed it, we have our plans have step backs, so that obviously as the tower on either side, the highest parts are the farthest away from the of the smokestacks, and we've kept our height below the height of the smokestack. And then ultimately, at some point in time, we own the two garage parcels. The condominium association owns the heating plant, and over time, something will happen there as we have better technologies and how we can recreate a heating plant for Parkchester, because it is an 80-year-old structure.
Is the Parkchester Preservation Corporation the custodian of the decorative figures that have lived on the Parkchester buildings and have in some cases come down?
The Preservation Corporation is not the custodian. Those are owned by the condominium associations, and when those have to be restored, I mean, this is really it's an economic decision that the condos have had to make. I serve on both of these condominium associations and have for 25 years. you know, it's $200,000, $250,000 when one of these has to be taken down, and then replaced and put up. So what the condo, when they're forced with that decision based on all the other capital needs of 12,271 units and 175 buildings on 125 acres of land, you know, they store these at this point in time, and they've maintained every one that they've taken down, and they have them in basically a tomb of statues.
And okay, so the cost aside of what it takes to either remove or replace, they exist somewhere.
We have them,
and they are preserved in the
Correct.
condition in which they were removed.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I happen to think that those are one of the really, you know, interesting and distinguishing features of the initial development. And somebody who grew up in Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village, which is a successor development to Parkchester, I think it's something which, if there's a way for us to find a path to preserve and to reintroduce, recognizing that this is there's obvious cost issues, which I recognize, but I'm glad that they are being preserved, and I'm glad that they are in a safe place and that they are not further deteriorating, which would allow all of us to explore what opportunities might exist out there.
We very much appreciate that, and obviously it is a very distinguishing characteristic of Parkchester, and we definitely appreciate that, you know, and so look forward to those discussions.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, I'm going to call up Nick Molinari, Chief of Planning and Neighborhood Development of New York City Parks. Welcome, Mr. Molinari. He's on Zoom. Okay. I was welcoming him as if he was right here in front of me, but he is not. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Grodnick and members of the City Planning Commission. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Good morning. We can hear you, Nick.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. It seems maybe you can't hear us, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay now? Oh, no.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
We can hear you.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I think I have to keep my camera off unless you can hear me when I put the camera on.
We can hear you both ways. And if you can see me, I'm giving you a thumbs up. We can hear
Thanks.
you.
Good morning, Chair Grodnick and members of the City Planning Commission. My name is Nick Molinari, and I'm Chief of Planning and Neighborhood Development at the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation. I'm here to speak on the proposed rezoning of Morris Park and Parkchester Van Nest and improvements to Hunts Point and Co-op City as part of the Bronx Metro North Station Study. New York City Parks recognizes the importance of our parks and open spaces in improving the quality of life for residents within these Bronx Metro North Station communities and in supporting the goals for transit-oriented development, economic opportunity, equity, and community. Since 2018, New York City Parks has been working with our partner agencies and with local stakeholders to better understand these communities' open space priorities and opportunities. We participated in the Department of City Planning's community engagement process, which resulted in the Bronx Metro North Plan and recommendations. This plan recognizes the diversity of public spaces within the various neighborhoods, transit-oriented development that affects open space activation and uses, and opportunities for development of new open spaces within the neighborhoods. These new stations will connect Bronx residents with crucial job centers and increase access to other parts of New York City and beyond, while creating vibrant communities in the station neighborhoods. New York City Parks is committed to improving the public realm within these neighborhoods and to delivering improvements that reflect community vision. Parks supports improving existing open spaces and increasing new publicly accessible open spaces where possible. With the new Metro North stations proposed and the proposed rezoning, there would be anticipated population influx in and around station neighborhoods, particularly the neighborhoods which have proposed land use changes. We seek to bolster accessible, quality open spaces to meet this demand. We welcome not only investment in New York City parks, but additional creative solutions such as the proposed plaza open spaces and potential privately built, publicly accessible open spaces, which will help alleviate demand on existing parks and offer opportunities to bring more New Yorkers within a walk of high-quality open spaces. Additionally, the proposed extension of Marconi amenities in a parcel that's currently inaccessible to the general public now. We look forward to continuing to work closely with our agency partners, local residents, and park advocates to identify opportunities to mitigate open space impacts and improve existing open spaces in these growing Metro North communities. I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Molinari. We appreciate it. Thank you. Next up, we're going to call Robert Press on Zoom.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can. We can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Robert Press, a community activist living in the Morris Park area. I am also a Bronx reporter for Muslim media and other media outlets. I have been at the Metro North planning meetings since they began in 2018, where there was no mention of any housing at all. In late 2022 or early 2023, all of a sudden, 6,000 units of housing was proposed. Then recently, it was up to 7,500 units. Over 90% of these units will be in Bronx Community Board 11, where I live. There are 4 roads that run south to north to Pelham Parkway in Bronx Community Board 11, Bronxdale Avenue, White Plains Road, Williamsburg Road, and Eastchester Road. During the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., traffic is normally backed up for blocks from Pelham Parkway down on all 4 roads, which are the only access points out. As far as the police, the 49th precinct is inadequate to handle the current increase in crime that in 2022 was 22%, 2023 it was up 27%, and currently in 2024 crime is up 17%. The manpower at the 49th precinct pre-COVID was 120. It is now 72 officers, down 35%. And as the councilwoman said, the sewers overflowed during heavy rains, flooding basements and roads. During the presentation of the Metro North rezoning plan to Bronx Community Board 11, City Planning Representative Paul, I forgot his last name, did not include that fact that the City of Yes for Economic Development and the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity has been placed in the rezoning before the City Council has voted on either the City of Yes items. That information came out during a Bronx City Council delegation city planning meeting that included the City of Yes before the council voted on either item, as said by Paul Phillips, the Bronx representative. Lastly, the majority of the Bronx people cannot and will not be able to afford the Metro North train. This project is much too large and needs to be scaled down to less than half of its current size in Community Board 11. But apparently, this is a done deal from what I'm seeing and hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Press. Let me move on to Bernadette Ferrara.
Bernadette, you should be able to unmute in Zoom.
Okay, great. All right, can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay, fantastic. Good day to the City Planning Commission and members of this public hearing. My name is Bernadette Ferrara, president of the Van Ness Neighborhood Alliance, speaking today as a lifelong Bronx resident living in the neighborhood of Van Ness, one of the low-density communities in District 13. For the record, communities of Van Nest and Morris Park have needed specific amenities for decades, such as community centers, middle schools, high schools, senior housing, and veterans housing with its existing number of residents. Now, with additional 7,500 apartments equaling over 20,000 plus new residents to be added to this area that have had so little for so long, the hope for a balance of community needs is wishful thinking. It seems that the excitement of what the two Metro North train stations will bring has taken a backseat to housing and overdevelopment that will forever change the characteristics and landscapes of four neighborhoods. One of the largest projects sites is number 4025 Baker Avenue. 398 residential apartments with 1,500 plus new residents to be built on a narrow one-way street across from two-family homes without adequate street parking with current residents. I urge everybody to take a drive to this location and see for yourself how the magnitude of this development will negatively impact the basic character of the Van Nest neighborhood and create congestion. This development must not be zoned more than R5B or R6, or it will have a significant adverse impact on the Van Nest community. To even suggest a supermarket at this location shows the unrealistic vision of this developer. Placing such a large amount of residents on a very small street in a small community close to an elementary school with one-way and dead-end streets will create challenges to public safety, traffic, congestion, and excessive noise. The proposed developments of Pierce Avenue and Bronxdale Avenue will create congestion and negatively impact Van Nest Academy and Icon 2 School. This is site 4042, the scope of which will eviscerate the sightline of St. Raymond's Church. I will give my written testimony. But the one thing I want to make important is that the Van Nest and Morris Park communities request written agreement to assure that as projects begin negotiation, communities affected and City Council member Marmorato be part of the initial blueprint process to discuss community amenities and infrastructure. And one thing I do want to note that on your proposed brief with the Bronxdale mapping, it is located in the Van Nest neighborhood of Bronx Community District CD13, not Parkchester neighborhood.
Time.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Ferraro. We appreciate your joining us. And I will note that many, if not all of us on the commission have in fact been to the sites that you referenced. So thank you for that. Just want to make sure you know we have gone there. We've seen Baker Avenue. We've seen exactly what you're talking about and understand the area and understand what you're referring to. And you are correct in defining it as Van Nest on the other side, and we gotcha. Thank you for that. Okay, let me call up Efren Gonzalez on Zoom.
Efren does not appear to be in the Zoom.
Okay. We will move on then to Tim Currier.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Are you all able to hear me?
We are, yes, thank you.
Great, thank you again. My name is Tim Currier. I help lead industry partnerships at the Mayor's Office of Talent and Workforce Development, also known as NYC Talent. I'm here today on behalf of NYC Talent's Executive Director, Abby Jo Siegel, to express our support for the Department of City Planning's Metro North Station proposals that promise to unlock new opportunities for local residents and foster connectivity with important East Bronx job centers in Morris Park, Hunts Point, and beyond. NYC Talent works as a strategic partner across the city's public, private, talent, and workforce development ecosystems to better coordinate and maximize investments that the City of New York and its many partners make in the career success of New Yorkers from pre-K to lifelong. We work to convene and align public agencies, employers, educational institutions, training providers, community-based organizations, and more to increase the accessibility of career services for New Yorkers to meet New Yorkers where they are, create inclusive pathways to quality employment so every New Yorker can get the skills they need to launch a career, partner with employers to develop and source the talent they need to thrive, and use their insights to inform sound public investments, and manage the system through smart use of consistent and transparent data. As part of our work, we also partner with economic development entities across government, including the Department of City Planning, to help ensure that jobs and economic opportunities created through their work are made accessible to local residents and lead to good career pathways. The proposed plan for Morris Park and the other areas holds immense potential to bridge the gap between various healthcare and educational institutions, including Montefiore Medical Center, Albert Einstein School of Medicine, Mercy University, and Health and Hospitals Jacobi Medical Center. These institutions collectively form one of the city's largest job hubs and the largest in the Bronx. By facilitating connectivity between these institutions, it will not only enhance accessibility across campuses and beyond the borough, but also foster workforce collaboration and innovation that the city is working to translate into job opportunities for Bronx residents. In November 2023, NYC Talent and DCP co-convened a roundtable of many of these local healthcare and educational stakeholders and community partners to better understand their greatest hiring needs and career opportunities, identify collaborative solutions, and discuss how to plan for the future. This convening built upon a series of stakeholder interviews conducted by DCP with Bronx institutions, employers, academic institutions, and workforce service providers. In this roundtable and in ensuing conversations, we have consistently and collectively heard that there is a need for accessible pathways to develop well-trained talent to meet the considerable employer demand, including for many jobs that are integral to the quality healthcare service delivery in the Bronx. DCP and NYC Talent will continue to leverage this spirit of collaboration among local stakeholders who are committed to create inclusive, supportive pathways that reduce barriers to good-paying jobs for Bronx residents and help employers find the talent they need. To concretize these relationships and catalyze the resources needed to do so, we recommend the Commission support DCP's proposals. Thank you again, the Chair and the Commissioners, for your time.
Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate your joining us today. Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to call up Roxanne Delgado on Zoom to be followed by Joseph O'Donnell of the MTA.
Roxanne, you should be able to turn on your microphone. It appears Roxanne may be having a technical difficulty. I would suggest we come back to her.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Let's move on to Joseph O'Donnell, and then we'll check back in with Roxanne in a little bit.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me. Thank you to Chair Gorodnick and the commissioners this morning for having me and allow me to speak on behalf of the MTA. I appreciate everybody's time today. My name is Joe O'Donnell. I am the Director of Government and Community Relations for MTA, and specifically MTA Construction and Development. Many of you know me, and I've been before the City Planning Commission in the past. The Department of City Planning and the MTA have coordinated over many years to ensure that the public benefits from the new Metro North transit service and the accessible stations at Hunts Point, Parkchester, Van Ness, Morris Park, and Co-op City in the Eastern Bronx are maximized. The MTA supports the efforts of the city to upzone appropriate areas in proximity to the new Metro North Penn Station access stations The significantly increased accessibility created by the MTA's investment in new transit service for these neighborhoods will open up more convenient employment opportunities for local residents and will tap into a very deep regional talent pool, which will strengthen this part of the Bronx, especially as we've heard from many speakers already, Montefiore Medical Center, Hutchinson Metro Center, and all of the related commercial and medical activities around the Morris Park station. This increased activity justifies higher density zoning that will allow for more housing, commercial, and institutional buildings to be constructed. The MTA also supports the city's public realm proposals to create public spaces, including streets and sidewalks around these new stations that provide pedestrian safety, comfort, and convenience, and will support the quality of new service that the MTA will be providing. With that, I'd like to yield the rest of my time to any questions that the chair or commissioners might have.
Great, thank you. I have a question for you from the Vice Chairman and Commissioner Goodridge. Let me just pose one question about the timetable. 2027 is the timetable that we've been working under. Is that still the case?
So yeah, as of today, as I said before you today, yes, it is. I mean, when we launched this project, the objective was to have service up and running by 2027. Obviously, we are developing and constructing this project inside the existing Amtrak right-of-way. So we're contingent or beholden to Amtrak for access. We implemented a long-term outage in 2023, which helped us significantly advance this project. We are still in the process of working on an agreement with Amtrak for another long-term outage in 2024. So we're presently rebaselining the project to understand how effective that initial long-term outage was and what we will be able to accomplish under this second long-term outage. So there may be updates on that schedule to come, but yes, the original anticipated completion date was 2027.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yes, thank you, Chair. That was actually a part of my question. All 4 sites are being constructed simultaneously?
Correct. They are all in different stages of their relative life cycle, if you will. We're starting foundations in 2 of the station areas now, piers. We're doing power. We're doing, a lot of different things at the same time, but there's work going on in all 4 station areas at the same time. And I guess just to anticipate a potential future question, we will not run service until all 4 stations are complete. So if, for instance, Hunts Point was completed in advance of the rest of the other 3 stations, we wouldn't run service just to Hunts Point. We will only run service once all 4 are complete.
Will these stations, upon completion, will there be job creation as a result of these, or would the current or just the normal MTA expansion cover these expansions as well, employee expansion? In other words,
right.
If you follow me.
No, I do. So just as part of the construction process and the building of the stations, we're obviously creating jobs and job opportunities. But once the stations are up and running, they will be minimally staffed outside of maintenance and cleaning. So there won't be a host of job opportunities in the stations proper. But obviously the proximity, as I mentioned, to Morris Park and certainly Hunts Point, which is another vibrant job center, it will certainly help with that creation and the fulfillment of job opportunities in those areas, but specific MTA jobs will be minimal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Goodridge?
I'm going to ask the same question I've been asking since MTA's here. So a lot of projects we often don't have like the final details before voting on it, and this is one where a few people have said there may be a city ticket, but it's still not final. So my main concern, so since MTA is here, I'd love to ask, what are your, do you think that this is going to be possible for there to be a lower fare?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was here when you asked the question of former Bronxborough President Diaz, and I would love to get him on our payroll, except for the fact that he was at the Knicks game last night, which suggests he's probably outside of my payroll. So, but yeah, he did a great job of answering that question. I mean, we don't know what the final fare will be until the service is up and running, because we don't know what the fares will be at that time. The fare will be in line with whatever the current, at that time, whatever the fare is for New Haven line service. There will be discussion around the implementation of, as the former borough president mentioned, city ticket. So there will be a reduced fare component to it. And any discussion around those
I'm sorry,
fares.
just to clarify, so this is my question. So there
Yeah.
will be a city ticket?
The assumption is there will be, right? We don't have the fare set yet, but the assumption is there will be, yes. And I just wanted to point out that any discussion around those fares is public. So it'll be available for public comment and MTA board approval when we get to that point. So there will be an opportunity to further discuss this and certainly take input on that.
Okay, thank you.
And just for my benefit here on the subject of city ticket, today, if you're traveling on Long Island Railroad or Metro North within New York City, city ticket is $5 during off-peak and $7 during peak. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
And the discount that the MTA just applied in anticipation of congestion pricing was on a monthly fare for city ticket. Is that also right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me bring this back to Roxanne Delgado, who I believe is now promoted and ready to go. Ms. Delgado, whenever you're ready.
Roxanne, you should be able to unmute in Zoom.
It appears that we
no longer see Roxanne in the panelist column.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Diana Finch, please, to be followed by Megan Wiley.
Hello, my name's Diana Finch. I'm a resident of Community Board 11 District for over 30 years, where I work most often from home as a literary agent, and I'm a board member of my local neighborhood association. I'm here to speak in favor of the Metro North rezoning because of its potential to bring much needed affordable housing to the area, and because it will revitalize some neglected locations in the district, the largest and most significant being East Tremont Avenue from White Plains Road to Castle Hill Avenue. I was introduced to this stretch of a major East Bronx thoroughfare in spring 2019 when my newly elected congressperson, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, organized an Earth Day cleanup along East Tremont. For hours, we walked this deserted and extremely pedestrian unfriendly roadway, filling bags and bags of trash, everything from disintegrated bits of plastic to heavy abandoned car parts. To see it reimagined as a thriving commercial and residential transportation nexus is wonderful. Similarly, the commercial retail development to come at the east end of Morris Park Avenue will be greatly welcome, and I look forward to a much greater choice of places to meet with my Jacoby Einstein writer clients than a single Starbucks. I'm glad my community board voted in favor of the plan, but wished they had appreciated the way that designating some areas as R7 or R8 is best, instead of asking to cap everything at R6. Because the greater building height also requires the creation of more public space and more green space, particularly at East Tremont and Bronxdale, where currently there is none. I do agree with the board's and residents' concerns about a couple of spots where new taller buildings might too closely impinge on single and two-family homes. The C4 section at Tenbrook and Seminole on Morris Park, and the C8 and R6 development by Baker Street, a small residential side street in Van Nest. But overall, I'm very much in favor and thank the Commission for the opportunity to speak on this much needed and revitalizing plan.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Finch. We appreciate your time and your service in the neighborhood and also for your support here. Okay, let me go to Megan Wiley and then Michael Case in the room here. So, Ms. Wiley, whenever you are promoted and ready, love to hear from you.
Great. Sorry. All good on sound?
All good on sound.
Great. Hi, everyone, and good morning, commissioners. My name is Megan Wiley, and I'm the Director of Government Relations at the New York Building Congress. On behalf of the New York Building Congress, I'm proud to be here today to speak in support of the Metro North area rezoning. The Building Congress represents over 500 constituent organizations and over 250,000 skilled tradespeople and professionals dedicated to the growth and prosperity of our city. Today, I am proud to express our support for the Department of City Planning's proposal that will bring much-needed transit-oriented development and thousands of critical jobs to one of the most under-resourced neighborhoods in New York City. As a longtime partner of the public and private groups committed to getting New Yorkers back to work, restarting our economy, and building for the future, the Building Congress strongly encourages the approval of the City of Yes's Bronx Metro North Plan. With the development of new Metro North stations in Morris Park and Parkchester, and soon Co-op City and Hunts Point, it is imperative that we make sure the area is prepared to meet the needs of a growing commuter base. Not only would this plan create a livable, walkable neighborhood with funding for improved infrastructure, an estimated 6,000 new homes, and quick access to over 1 million jobs in under 45 minutes, but it would also generate 10,000 jobs and workforce training opportunities for Bronxites. The Bronx Metro North Plan is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to support the entire borough of the Bronx by encouraging sustainable transportation options for commuters, incentivizing much-needed affordable housing, promoting neighborhood retail to help build up local economies, and creating thousands of good-paying job opportunities for residents to live and work in their own communities. As an organization with a diverse membership base, ready, willing, and able to build New York into an even better place to live and work, the Building Congress strongly stands in support of this proposal and the positive impact it will have not only for the Bronx, but for all throughout New York City as a whole. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, Mr. Case, welcome. Thank you for joining us here.
Hi, my name is Michael Cass, and I'm a resident in Morris Park. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in favor of the Bronx Metro North stationary rezoning. I'm proud to say that I've participated in nearly every public workshop related to this proposal since 2018, and after 6 years of engagement, City Planning has produced a plan that is truly a compromise, one that takes advantage of a multi-billion-dollar transportation investment, including smart provisions like the elimination of the residential parking mandate, while limiting the scope of the rezoning to predominantly industrial areas. With that in mind, the estimated 7,500 homes should be the floor as this proposal moves through ULURP. I admit I was happy to see Bronx Community Board 11 finally say yes to new housing. However, their recommendation to limit densities to R6A is a non-starter, and I'd argue is contrary to their other conditions to maximize affordable housing and amenities. Instead, I would second Bronx Community Board 9's unanimous recommendation to increase the height and density of the rezoning, recognizing that it would enable more affordable housing and amenities. More recently, Majority Leader Amanda Farias held a community engagement session in Parkchester between residents and the developers of the major East Tremont Avenue sites, so folks could see what would be possible under the current proposal versus a modified proposal with additional height. And it appeared that folks preferred the taller proposals because it allowed for less bulky-looking buildings with more open space, more amenities, and most importantly, more housing. That's a win for everyone, so I have to see an increase on those East Tremont Avenue sites. Now, I understand that during the review session that given the new transit access, the question of gentrification came up. So I hope to provide some context here. Even though it won't open for several more years, the Metro North is already a selling point in our community. And you don't have to take my word for it. Councilmember Marmorato has stated on many occasions that she bought her home in Morris Park because of the Metro North. But for people who did not have the council member's foresight, housing is increasingly hard to come by. Morris Park is a major job center, and there are many folks who work in Morris Park who can't afford to live there today because of the shortage. During Speaker Adams' 2024 State of the City program, we saw the story of Dr. Louis Aguilar, a third-year Jacoby resident who has to commute home to Queens after a 12-hour shift because he couldn't find housing in our community. It's real stories like that why we need every unit of housing we can get to open the door to more families who deserve the same opportunity to live in the community I do. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we must act like it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cass. Appreciate it. And thank you again for joining us here. Okay, let me move on to Sarit Platkin of HPD on Zoom. And while we're getting Ms. Platkin up and running, I will note I have Nora Martins and Camelia Tapilas signed up as our last two today. So if anyone is interested in testifying and is not heretofore signed up, please do. Now's the time. Thank you. Hello, Sarit. You're muted, though.
Hello. Good afternoon, Chair Garodnick and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in favor of the Bronx Metro North Plan. I'm Sarit Platkin, the Director of Neighborhood Planning at the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, HPD. HPD's mission is to promote quality and affordability in our city's housing and diversity and strength in the city's neighborhoods. I'm happy to be here today to share HPD's perspective on the importance of the Bronx Metro North Plan. Our city is facing an extreme housing shortage. A mere 1.4% of apartments are available for rent, the lowest rate since 1968. In the Bronx, this figure is even more abysmal. Less than 1% of rental homes are available. The extreme competition for housing in our city has severe consequences. It drives up rental prices. Over 50% of New York City renters are rent burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on rent. It traps New Yorkers in substandard housing. 500,000 renting households are living with significant maintenance deficiencies. And most distressingly, it pushes people into homelessness. Over 92,000 individuals, including 33,400 children, were recorded as homeless on a given night in December 2023. Building new housing, especially affordable housing, is absolutely critical. This is why HPD supports the Bronx Metro North Plan's ambitious goal to facilitate 7,000 new homes near 2 brand new regional rail stations in the Bronx. The proposed plan is especially important in light of housing trends over the last 15 years. New housing development in neighborhoods around the new Morris Park and Parkchester stations has fallen behind the rest of the city. Bronx Community District 11, where the new Morris Park station is planned, added just 1,500 new homes in the last 15 years. Of the city's 59 community districts, that is 5th from the bottom. Bronx Community District 9, where Parkchester station is planned, has seen more new housing, about 3,900 new homes, but still ranks in the bottom 20% of community districts. These new Metro North stations present a generational chance to foster community growth by adding over 7,000 new homes. The development can alleviate pressure on housing costs and provide needed services and amenities, enriching the existing community. Importantly, through mapping mandatory inclusionary housing, or MIH, the plan would facilitate 1,900 permanently affordable homes around these transit hubs. Since 2016, MIH has been a game-changing mechanism in the city's pursuit to create affordable housing and has generated 5,300 units, primarily serving low-income households, earning 30 to 80% of the area median income, or AMI. These permanently affordable MIH homes do not compete for housing tax credits or city financing. The new affordable homes can come online more quickly. HPD is proud to administer MIH through creating restrictive declarations with property owners and distributing these income-restricted, rent-stabilized homes through the housing lottery. Also of note is that under the 421A replacement program, units will be capped at 100% of the area median income rather than the previous 130% AMI. While creating new opportunity is crucial, HPD is equally committed to supporting current New Yorkers who wish to remain in their homes. For most Bronx residents in Bronx Community District 9 and 11, most residents in Bronx Community District 9 and 11 are renters.
Time.
Give us those final stats before you close, Sarit. Let's hear those final stats.
Sure. So I wanted to say that, most residents in CD 9 and 11 are renters, and that the city has extensive, legal and maintenance support for them, as well as extensive support for homeowners in the area. And we have, exciting kind of new programs coming online to support homeowners through down payment assistance, through home repair, and through one-on-one homeowner support, which I'm happy to talk more about. And we also support new housing and new homeownership through our open door financing program.
Great, thank you very much. I have questions for you from Commissioner Goodridge.
All right.
We have snacks in the back, so sorry. So I asked before about, I'm glad that HPD is here because I've been a bit concerned that the total amount of apartments out of 7,500, it looks like only 1,900 are going to be permanently affordable. Do we have, well, first I'll just say my first question is, for such a large project, is there going to be any thought to having more than just 1,900 out of 7,500 be permanently affordable?
Great question, Commissioner Goodridge. So, MIH really is our best tool to achieve affordability in this community district, given that there is limited vacant land for, affordable housing. HPD does not have any sites in this area. We're very open to working with property owners of private developments who are interested in 100% affordable housing. We welcome them to come to conversations with us, and we actually have already been engaged by some of the property owners of private sites in the area. We look forward to continuing the conversations with them, which could add significant new affordable housing or additional affordable housing in the area. But yes, we are limited by our land ownership in the area.
I had asked Monday, and so asking again today, do we know the AMI breakdown and also a sense of the bedrooms breakdown, like how many studios, how many will have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms?
Sure. So, obviously this is speculative given that
I'm sorry. We do know the AMI breakdown. I asked this it was 23, it was a whole, so I'm sorry, let me ask another question because I had also asked this on Monday, why there were so many at 130% of AMI?
Great. So actually, have some updates on that. So we do not anticipate units through MIH to be at 130% AMI. That is at this point with the 421A replacement program that caps units at 100% AMI. We do not expect MIH units to go beyond 100%. So that is, I think, an update since that was submitted or the RER was written previously.
Okay, because that's through the governor's, it's actually, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some policy updates that are exciting and, really contribute to the MIH AMI's lowering. So I think one of them is the 421A replacement program. Also, of course, my city planning colleagues can tell you more about the, City of Yes for Housing Opportunity that is proposing MIH option 3, the 40% AMI as a standalone option. So that would also be a huge benefit to this rezoning.
So do you know it will not be past 100 AMI. So then do you know what AMI it would be, or would it just be 100?
So with 421A, 421A will not subsidize anything that goes beyond 100% AMI. So we're looking at that being for most of these projects, assuming that they use 421A, that would be the max. If they're not using 421A, then it could go beyond that. But now that 421A is back in place, we expect that to be significantly utilized.
I'm not sure if I asked the question. So do you know if the original units that were originally 130, but now won't go past 100, do you know that if they will be 100 AMI or if they will be significantly lower than 100 AMI? I know that there has to be a weighted part, but my question is, do you have a sense of if those replaced units will just be at the highest that it can be, which is now 100 AMI, or if it will be lower?
We always expect MIH units to be produced at a range of incomes. So, and really a variety of income levels. I think we would expect to see units, largely between 40 to 100% AMI. And just to give you a sense of what that is, that's a studio apartment for, 850 at the lower end, 2,100 on the higher end. But yeah, we would expect a range of income levels.
Okay. The bedroom breakdowns, that is something that I asked on Monday, and as of then, there was no update. Not even an update, I'm sorry. We just didn't have any information on, just an idea of how many of the units would be one-bedroom, studios. This is, I would say, the second most common question that we get from residents that comes up in planning hearings. So I think it's important to have a sense for this project.
Yeah, appreciate that question. I think we can double check the racial equity report and see what was included there. But it may have been that was not in there. Yeah.
We talked about it Monday here.
So, okay, I'm happy to double check the racial equity report, but it may have been too speculative to include, and I'll double check that.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Sarit. Let us move on to Nora Martins, followed by Camelia.
May I speak, please? Because I have to go work in 20 minutes.
What's your name?
Roxanne Delgado.
Roxanne. Okay, you know what? You got a deal. We called you a couple of times. You couldn't get you on, but let's do it. You know what? Nora Martins, please hold for a moment. I'm going to put Roxanne ahead of you just because she's been waiting and appears to have to leave as well. So, Ms. Delgado, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right, I appreciate that. I apologize, but unfortunately, MTA is not reliable service anymore. So many traffic signals on the downtown 2 line. So if MTA is still on this hearing, you really need to fix the 2 line because the constant delay has interfered with my work and personal life and even my activism. All right, on the side note, I am disappointed with the turnout for this hearing, but not surprising because many people in the community are very disappointed with the commissioner having a rally with the mayor, Eric Adams, regarding the city of Yes. Because city planning can be apolitical. They should not be engaged in political rallies with any elected, including our current mayor, Eric Adams. The city planning has to be apolitical and community-minded and data-driven. And I have to say, I have not seen that happen in previous rezoning and even now. I like when people use the political jargon, transit, desert, equity, inclusiveness. They speak very well here, but their actions is quite different from what they say. Like the Parks Agency. Parks have been taking away green spaces from us, not just in the Bronx, citywide, with the development and privatization of parks, from casinos to other projects that we've been fighting in the Bronx. Even a private parking spot for some kind of private school in the South Bronx. And regarding HPD, they talk about affordability, but they're constantly making arrangements with developers to make the AMI levels, income levels, unreasonable for the proposed areas. 2560 Boston Road. I've been sending emails and letters for the past 6 months to HPD and has been left unresponsive regarding 2560 Boston Road because the Slate property, who both the former mayor and the former speaker, de Blasio and Corey Johnson, refused to work with him because of his predatory nature towards tenants. And now he's in the Bronx in a rezoned property, and he's now renegotiating the AMI levels, which were already high as it is when the city planning approved it, and the former city council unfortunately did not fight for this community. In your own data, not my opinion, Allentown is at the most risk of displacement because of the demographic and the lack of rental protection. Not to mention, New York Times highlighted that Allentown is the cheapest neighborhood in the city. Average bedroom, 1 bedroom is $1,500. But with this new proposed 2560 development, I mean, you're seeking income of over 100,000, and people are saying, why is the city subsidizing housing for the rich? You mean 30% of that? That means that person could afford a minimum of $2,500 monthly rent. In your own data, the vacancy rate for apartments for over $2,500 is over 10%, but for rentals for $1,500 or less is less than 1%. Even HPD 10 Weinstein said at the recent city planning for housing, City of Yes for Housing Opportunity said that for Housing Connect, they get over application for rentals 1,500 and less, but for those over 2,000, they don't have as much applicants. So constantly we have this narrative of doing things for affordability, equity, inclusiveness, but otherwise it's done the opposite. I mean, I did not prepare my speech, but I'm very, very upset with what's happening to this city. And thank you for your time. That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me move on to Nora Martins, and I will just note that supporting City of Yes for Housing Opportunity as the director of the Department of City Planning, which is the author of the proposal, is certainly well within bounds, and certainly standing with the mayor in support of that proposal, you know, upon its release, I think is, well within bounds and actually pretty important too. So I just wanted to correct that one point, but we appreciate your being here with us. Okay, let's go to Nora Martins.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Grodnick and Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nora Martins from Ackerman LLP, Land Use Counsel to Baker Development LLC. I'm giving this testimony in support today on behalf of Arjan Jushi of Baker Development LLC. Baker Development LLC is the owner of several lots assembled into an approximately 1.75 acre development site within the area of the proposed Bronx Metro North Station area study. Our property is in the Van Ness neighborhood on the block bounded by White Plains Road, Baker Avenue, and the railroad tracks. Just a 5-minute or so walk from the proposed Parkchester Van Ness Metro North Station. We strongly support City Planning's Bronx Metro North Station proposal. If this proposal is approved, we plan to redevelop our property, the majority of which has been historically vacant, with a mixed-use development that includes new housing, including the 25 to 30% permanently affordable housing required under the MIH program, as well as local commercial and/or community facility uses along White Plains Road, which is a very wide street at 100 feet wide in this location. Given the size of the property, we would also be able to provide green open space and parking, off-street parking, both of which we know are important to the surrounding community. While we are still early in the design process, our strategy, which is consistent with the proposed R61 and R6A zoning districts, is to locate taller portions of the development along White Plains Road, with lower and less dense development situated along Baker Avenue and Garfield Street. This approach would allow for a transition from busy White Plains Road and the more built-up areas surrounding the new Metro North Station to the lower density 1 to 3 family homes that are located in the Van Ness neighborhood to the north and west. We believe that this initiative holds tremendous potential to provide much needed services, new housing, including permanently affordable housing, and economic opportunity within transit-oriented developments such as ours. We respectfully request that you approve the proposed Bronx Metro North Station area study. Thank you.
Ms. Martin, thank you very much. Let me just have one point of clarification from you. So you noted that in the development that you're proposing to do on Baker Avenue, that you're going to include off-street parking. Is that right?
That is the proposal. I think there's a
even though it's not required.
Correct. There's a recognition.
Okay. I just think I think it's important to note that, because I think it's frequently misunderstood that as part of our City of Yes for Housing Opportunity proposal, and also, of course, aligning those proposals with the Bronx Metro North Plan is a rational thing to do, because there would be no reason why the city would propose two things on a parallel track that were discordant with one another, that a private applicant would still not only be able to provide parking as needed, but is in fact saying at a public hearing that they will provide parking as needed, even though it is not mandated under the rules. So I appreciate that, Ms. Martins. I think you allow me to make a really important point here, which is on one of the most obvious development sites in the Van Ness neighborhood and near the Parkchester Van Ness future Metro North Station, that there's still an interest in providing parking, and there's nothing about this proposal that limits your ability to do that. So thank you for that. Let me ask you the question, though. I want to follow up. We did hear from one neighbor of the Baker site who suggested that the narrowness of the site, the proximity to lower density neighbors, potential for grocery store, et cetera, was impractical. Can you just address that and give some reaction to that here?
Sure, of course. I mean, the site, as I mentioned, has frontage along 3 different streets. It's, backs onto the railroad tracks, but on Garfield Street and Baker Street, which are narrower streets within the neighborhood. But then one of the widest parts of its frontage is on White Plains Road. The idea would be to locate any commercial uses, including, for example, a supermarket on White Plains Road, not on the narrower streets. We did hear that there was a need for a supermarket in this neighborhood, as we've been attending various public meetings and hearings on this project. And Baker Avenue is a narrow street. It does have parking on both sides currently. We would definitely look to work with DOT and with the council member to see how we could address existing concerns on that street based on the narrowness. And also we think providing accessory off-street parking on our site does help to address that. But it's something that we recognize and will work to address in our development as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to turn to Camelia Tapilas, and I will note that Ms. Tapilas is the last person that I have signed up. So this is your chance if you are interested. Okay, whenever you're ready, we'd love to hear from you.
Good afternoon. Sound okay on your end, Chair Gardening?
Hello, I can hear you just fine.
Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Camelia Tapelus, and I testify in support of this project as Executive Director of the Morris Park Business Improvement District, operating for the past 5 years, 7 blocks away from the site of the future Metro North Morris Park Station and adjacent plaza. The forthcoming 4 new Metro North stations represent a long overdue opportunity to remediate an unfair and inequitable status quo of trains passing through the East Bronx for decades without actually stopping to serve our neighborhoods. The new stations will not only allow Bronxites access to a much wider pool of job opportunities, but will also serve to attract top talent to the East Bronx, which the East Bronx needs. While the Morris Park bid strongly welcomes this transformative development, it is crucial that the new stations integrate smoothly and positively within their surrounding neighborhoods and the future management needs of all stations and the public spaces around them is being addressed early on. Of specific relevance to us is the management of the future Morris Park Plaza adjacent to the new station, which will see hundreds of commuters passing through to access local jobs at the large healthcare facilities nearby. Who will be responsible for the management and cleanliness of this new public space? Who will sweep the sidewalks, empty the trash receptacles, install and maintain planters? Who will take responsibility that this plaza is indeed a welcoming new entrance gateway into the beautiful Morris Park community? The future Morris Park Plaza maintenance needs must be funded. Plaza sanitation and beautification costs needs to be included in the budget of a large institutional stakeholder or consortium of stakeholders upon the opening of the Metro North station, and year after year thereafter. Large private shareholders, Montefiore, Simone Development, Hutchinson, as well as the city-owned Jacobi Hospital will benefit tremendously from the rezoning associated to the new Metro North access. And we urge all of them and all entities surrounding the station to take ownership in ensuring that the future Morris Park Plaza is a welcoming, cared-for point of access into Morris Park. Finally, we would like to urge elected officials and all city agencies involved in the planning process to take the opportunity of the Metro North expansion to East Bronx for a deeper look at the needs of the surrounding communities, and in the case of Morris Park, ask for additional capital investment, such as undergrounding of the electric lines on the east side of Morris Park Avenue by replacing wooden poles with modern metallic ampoules for a less cluttered, more clean streetscape and a better experience for the local residents, and upgrading the capacity of DP water drainage on Morris Park Avenue. We thank all agencies concerned. We thank especially Michael Cavalar in the DCP team and really appreciate your care and attention to this project. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Thank you, Ms. Tafilas. With that, I see no other members of the public wishing to testify today. So going once, going twice. Okay. So I'll close the hearing on calendar 12 to 18. Madam Secretary, talk to us about next steps and other business.
I'll just note that the record will remain open to receive written comments on calendar numbers 12 through 18 through Tuesday, May 28th at 5 p.m. to receive written comments on the draft environmental impact statement.
Great. With that, again, I want to thank everybody who joined us today expressing their views on this important project, actually on both important projects that we saw today. To commissioners, thank you for your attention and patience, and of course to the staff of the department. A lot of praise for you today and well-deserved. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
The time is 12:48 p.m.
Wow. Yeah.